Book of Eli was directed by the Hughes brothers, came out in 2010, and is actually probably one of the most underrated films of that time, of our time in general. At least one of. This movie stars Denzel Washington as he's a scavenger in this apocalyptic time, and he's just trying to get from point A to point B pretty much. And he's holding a book that's apparently very special in this time. And he's being accompanied by this girl who is played by Mila Kunis on his journey while trying to make sure that Carnegie, played by Gary Oldman, doesn't get his hands on this book and basically doesn't kill them in the process. That is probably the best way to describe this movie without giving any spoilers at all. But again, this movie I think was probably one of the most underrated films of its time. It had great visuals, honestly. Like, it had really great visuals. It looked like a lot of it was filmed on a set. Not on a set, my bad, on locations. It looked like a lot of it was filmed on locations, which were phenomenal. The story was there, but it wasn't really clear until later on. About halfway, not even halfway, like 35, 40 minutes in. And the acting itself, as well as the writing, was just phenomenal. While the writing, again, was phenomenal, it was very limited on what they were describing. Like, for instance, later in the movie, they describe the Flash. Not the character, the event in this movie. Without getting into it too much and with spoilers, pretty much that's what causes the apocalyptic world to happen. But they tell you about it, but they don't really put that much detail in it in general. With that said, also, they don't really explain much of the stuff in general, other than the fact that basically Denzel Washington's character has to get west with this book to save humanity. The story is there, I promise you. It's just really hard to describe because of it. Now, admittedly, this movie does take on a more Christian-y kind of path, but you can't even tell until the end of the movie. So if you're one of those people that's like, oh, I don't want to watch a Christian movie or whatever because Christian movies are bad or they're boring or whatever, trust me, this one is not one of those movies. This movie had action, it had violence, it had body parts getting cut off, it had swearing. It's not your typical Christian movie. Trust me, it's really not. It's freaking worth watching.
You listening to me?
Yeah.
Good. Put that hand on me again, you won't get it back.
You believe this fucking guy? All right. We'll do it the hard way.
But it all ties back to the somewhat Christian faith, which a lot of movies don't really do that anymore. And so seeing a movie that is more realistic, even though it's an apocalyptic time, seeing a movie that's more realistic and seeing this guy carry this book and having all this faith with Christianity and such, and seeing all the stuff that he goes through, it kind of circles back to what Christians feel like nowadays, where basically they get bashed for their religion or stuff like that. So this movie does definitely take a big step with that in particular. Now, admittedly, this could just be me, and with all the noise that was going on while I was watching the movie, it was kind of hard to understand what they were saying at sometimes, so I did have to watch with subtitles. But again, I normally watch with subtitles because I want to make sure I understand what's being said. But anyways, I'm guessing it could have been just my TV. I don't think it was much for their problem more than mine. But, I mean, I'm just saying it now. There might have been some sort of sound issue where they were too quiet compared to the other surrounding noise, like the music, the gunfire, and everything going on. But that could just be me. Now, there was a lot of action in this, but with that said, the very beginning, it caught my attention very quickly. The first minute, we'll say, definitely made my interest go oh, hello there. I got super interested with this movie. And then after that, it does kind of slow down a bit, but then it picks right back up and just stays picked up throughout the entire movie. It kind of kept me on the edge of my seat. I've seen this movie about 4 times because, I'm going to be honest, I think this movie is my favorite movie of all time. I'm not going to rate this review off of my biased interest in the fact that I love this movie. But, I mean, it is, like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. I freaking love it. I would like for everybody to see this movie because, I mean, not only does it have a good lesson in the movie, but it has Denzel Washington, Mila Kunis, Gary Oldman all in one movie where they're in an apocalyptic time and you just see the madness that's going on. The acting in this was incredible to an extent. There was some acting that wasn't too good, but that's minor. That's like, it's major and minor. Like, minor because it was in very few parts where it was really bad, but it was major because, like, with some of those parts that were minor, they were kind of noticeable. Kind of. But again, the acting was really good in this movie. Denzel Washington played an amazing role in this movie. He did a great job. Gary Oldman, he was the antagonist in this movie. He did phenomenal. The way that his character was in this apocalyptic time, the way he's just trying to be this man who wants to control everything, it was just phenomenal. Mila Kunis as the, I can't say protagonist, as a side character that was also of importance. I'm going to call it that for now. She did an amazing job with her role. She definitely nailed the part perfectly. I don't think there could have been any other choice, like any other actor who could have played that role as well as she could. There were some times where it was a bit over-exaggerated, but, I mean, that's every movie. Every movie's going to have that little bit of exaggeration in it, but you can't get around it. You really can't. Overall, this movie is phenomenal. I love it. It's one of my all-time favorites. I strongly recommend watching it, without a doubt. I'm giving the Book of Eli a B+. I mean, that's just my opinion. Maybe you guys will have different opinions. If you do, definitely let me know. Thank you for watching, as always. Be sure to come to my page. I posted on Facebook that I'm only going to do 1 review a week because I just can't find the time to do 2 anymore. Once I get that time found again, I will definitely be putting 2 up again like I did before. Who knows, maybe I'll have time to put a 3rd one up. You never know. But right now, I'm just going to stick with the 1 every week. This is my 1 for this week. So again, thank you guys for being patient. Thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe my page on Facebook, Twitter, and here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to me here. And as always, this is Pop Culture Critics, signing off.